What's up, CA students? I hope you guys are all doing well right now. I know that I'm missing seeing you all in person, so I'm hoping and praying that that will be back soon. For any of you guys that don't know me, my name is Sam Tang. I'm an 11th grader at CA Students, and today I'm going to bring you the daily Devo from a passage in Mark. And I think this is a really awesome passage, just showing kind of Jesus' radical love, so let me just read it now. Mark 3 says, "Another time Jesus went into the synagogue, and a man with a shriveled hand was there. Some of them were looking for the reason to accuse Jesus, so they watched him closely to see if he would heal him on the Sabbath. Jesus said to the man with the shriveled hand, 'Stand up in front of everyone.' Then Jesus asked him, 'Which is lawful on the Sabbath, to do good or to do evil, to save a life or to kill?' But they remained silent. He looked around at them in anger and deeply distressed at their stubborn hearts, and said to the man, 'Stretch out your hand.' He stretched out his hand, and he was completely restored. The Pharisees went out and began to plot with the Herodians how they might kill Jesus." So, awesome passage. And I think one of the most interesting things about it is how the Pharisees and Jesus differently treat kind of the rules, in this specific case, of the Sabbath. In this passage, the Pharisees kind of use the rule of the Sabbath as a way to get at Jesus, right? They didn't do it because they really cared about the Sabbath and keeping God's holy day. They did it because they wanted a reason to accuse Jesus. It says that at the beginning of the passage. Jesus, on the other hand, he says, "I know that God's rules are important, and the thing that's wrong about the Pharisees isn't that they obeyed rules. God set them out for a purpose, and that purpose was so that we could better love each other. So Jesus says that I know that that's kind of the main purpose. And so he says, if this man is healed, then I'm going to love him. And in this case, he healed him because he knew that that was the right thing. And then the Pharisees were actually upset at that. And it seems kind of ridiculous to us because he heals a man from this terrible ailment he had. And then as soon as that, they say that they're trying to kill him, which seems weird to us. But usually in these passages, a lot of times the Pharisees can kind of be reflective of us, actually. So it's kind of important to look at ourselves and see what are we possibly doing that could be kind of like the Pharisees. And an old youth pastor I had once, I think, kind of summed it up really well, the two different views of Jesus and the Pharisees. He said that the Pharisees saw God's glory as something fragile that needed to be protected, but Jesus saw God's glory as something powerful that needed to be unleashed. So they kind of saw this righteousness as just this path that only a few could take, and only those that were able to strictly follow these rules and do it. But God saw it as this powerful thing that needed to be exploited and used. And because of that, he was able to more radically love people when the Pharisees were just kind of stuck in these rules, which they were just kind of obeying, not because they truly loved God, but because that was just how they saw it, just as rules. In doing that, the Pharisees kind of took God, the almighty creator of the universe, and they kind of made him small. They put him into their paradigm, their little box. And in their box, they kind of saw God as these commandments, which are all good things, but they just limited him to don't kill, don't steal, tithe. And so then they made him just these things, and in doing that, they could kind of fit him into their worldview. And so if they saw him as just these things, if they just were able to live out these few rules well, then in their minds they were being righteous and they were being better than everyone else's. But in reality, they were confining God to this box, which he shouldn't be confined to. And Jesus kind of breaks out of that and says, no, he's so much more than that. And I think something that we can kind of learn from this is, in what ways are we kind of putting God in our box? Are we saying that, God, you're this one thing and we're going to limit you to only being these rules? Or maybe we just see God as a kind figure but not an authoritative one. And I think it's important to look at, well, look at Jesus and how would he have treated that? Would he have limited him, or would he have taken God's glory and unleashed it and set it free and not said, God, I'm going to say who you are, but you tell me who I am? And I think once we do that, then we'll be able to have a much kind of bigger understanding of who God really is. So I think that's kind of one of the main takeaways from this passage. Thanks, guys, for all just taking the time to listen. I hope that you got encouraged or in something out of it, and I just hope that you're blessed. And yeah, hope to see you soon.